कैसे गया
68
शुरू करनी। हेलो स्टूडेंट्स, हेलो, आर यू लिस्निंग मी? हेलो, क्यों बोले नहीं? भन्यो, आर यू लिस्निंग? हेलो, वाह, शुरू करनी। So today I am going to discuss about enteric fever. Okay? ये लाइव करने हैं। आपको next change कर ले। So enteric fever is a quite common disease and important disease especially in developing country. And it is a systemic illness caused by Salmonella group of organism, bacteria, that is Salmonella typhi and Salmonella paratyphi, and is characterized by mainly fever and abdominal pain. Enteric fever and typhoid fever, they both are similar. Same thing. If you go in the history, the Mary Mallon, she was a cook, and she is also known as Typhoid Mary because she was the first person in the United States to be identified as healthy carrier of typhoid fever. Healthy carrier means the patient has no sign and symptoms, but is excreting bacteria, mostly in stool, but sometimes in urine, that can infect other persons. So that is called healthy carriers without symptom, but excreting, carrying bacteria and excreting bacteria. So she was the first person, the Mary Mallon, also known as Typhoid Mary. She was the first person in the United States to be identified as a healthy carrier of typhoid fever. Over the course of her career as a cook, she is known to have infected 47 people, 3 of whom died from the disease. So the typhoid fever is very common, and typhoid fever or enteric fever is very common and very important disease, especially in developing country. And if untreated, it can have serious complication. If not treated in time properly, it can cause serious complications. But next one. So this, as I have already mentioned, this enteric fever or typhoid fever is caused by Salmonella group of bacteria, which is gram-negative bacilli. And this enteric fever is caused by Salmonella typhi and Salmonella paratyphi. Serotype, paratyphi, serotype A, B, and C. This Salmonella group of organism can cause various diseases like enteritis or acute gastroenteritis, enteric fever, and prototype is typhoid fever, and less severe is paratyphoid fever. But both are called these days as typhoid fever or enteric fever. And this Salmonella group of organism can also cause septicemia. And as I have already mentioned, the patient may be asymptomatic carrier. Gallbladder is the reservoir for Salmonella typhi. Next. So it's a systemic disease, enteric systemic disease caused by dissemination of Salmonella typhi or Salmonella paratyphi, and characterized by fever and abdominal pain, endemic in most developing countries. There is no known host other than humans. So humans are the only host. And its mode of transmission is fecal-oral. So fecal-oral. So it is transmitted by contaminated food and water or contaminated hands from sick person or chronic carriers. So most cases result from ingestion of contaminated food or water. So it's a gram-negative bacilli. I have already told. Mode of transmission, I have already told. So food and water contaminated by feces or urine of a patient or carrier. Flies can infect foods. Pathogenesis. When the required amount of organism reaches stomach, then it reaches to small intestine, where it crosses the epithelium of small intestine, mostly in ileum, where these are taken by macrophages. So, in lymphatic tissues. The Peyer's passage, you already know, Peyer's passage are collection of lymphatic tissue in ileum. So they invade through Peyer's passage. Then they multiply in in lymph nodes. And then they enter bloodstream through lymphatic system, that is through thoracic ducts. And from there, that causes transient bacteremia. Bacteria means presence of bacteria in blood. And from there, it disseminates throughout the body. And then it localizes. It can localize in various organs, but mainly in reticuloendothelial systems like lymphatic system, spleen, liver, bone marrow, lymph node, and it can also multiply in gallbladder, and it can cause bacteremia. So pathogen is salmonella transmitted to human orally by contaminated food or water, GI tract, small intestine, phagocytic by macrophage via lymphatics, then reticuloendothelial system, liver, spleen, lymph node, bone marrow. And secretion from macrophages, secretion of cytokines from macrophages cause fever and abdominal pain. I have already explained these things. And there are then these bacteria multiply in Peyer's patches. In small intestine, that can cause marked enlargement and necrosis of Peyer's patches, which can ulcerate. And if the condition is favorable, it can heal. But if the condition is not favorable, if the patient is not treated in time, if no diagnosis is not made in time, and if the treatment is not done in time, the ulcer can perforate, can cause perforation of small bowel, and it can also cause bleeding, GI bleeding. So there are two important complications: GI bleeding and perforation of small intestine. Besides these two important complications which are common, if treatment is not given in time, other complications might arise. Like I have already said, the bacteria can settle in and multiply in various organs of body. So it can cause acute osteomyelitis, arthritis, myocarditis, infective endocarditis, meningitis, various psychiatric problems. And multiplication of these bacteria in reticuloendothelial system causes hepatosplenomegaly. Okay, sir. Of clinical features. Clinical features in first week. Most important clinical feature is fever, persistent fever. Persistent fever which can last up to 4 weeks without treatment, which can last up to 4 weeks. Fever is the most important symptom. Then other important symptoms are headache, fever, headache. Then relative bradycardia, which means pulse rate does not increase in relation to rise in body temperature. So that is called relative bradycardia. And there might be constipation, or in children there may be diarrhea and vomiting, or diarrhea and vomiting is more common in typhoid fever. And the fever in first week, that is called step ladder pattern, rises in step ladder pattern. That is fever आज जति fever छ त्यो भन्दा भोलि बढ्छ, भोलि भन्दा पर्सि बढ्छ, पर्सि भन्दा नि पर्सि बढ्छ, त्यो हिसाबले fever चाहिँ बढ्दै जान्छ फर्स्ट वीकमा. अनि सेकेन्ड वीकमा गएर कन्टिन्युअस हुन्छ, कन्टिन्युअस fever. सो फर्स्ट वीक को feverलाई स्टेप ल्याडर प्याटर्न भन्छ. So in first week there is fever, headache, the two important things, relative bradycardia, myalgia, constipation, and sometimes diarrhea and vomiting. And there might be also cough. And then end of first week, the rose, or second week, rose spot, that is red spot, rose spot appear on 7 to 10 days. That is mostly seen, rose-like spot, that is mostly seen in trunk and abdomen, and is better seen in white people rather than black people. There might be splenomegaly, cough, and in second week, there will be diarrhea, abdominal distension. And at the end of, this is the end of first week or second week. Then at the end of second week or in the third or fourth week, that is period of complication. Either the patient recovers or patient might land into complication if treatment is not given in time. So complication, as I have already mentioned, there might be perforation of small intestine, which can cause generalized peritonitis, and there may be GI bleeding, and there may be other complications because of bacteremia like pericarditis, myocarditis, infective endocarditis, meningitis, various neuropsychiatric problems like delirium, coma, or there may be acute cholecystitis, arthritis, osteomyelitis, and there might be also severe pneumonia, acute pyelonephritis, acute pancreatitis. So, and the patient without, if untreated, the patient can die at the end of second week, third week, or fourth week. Before the discovery of antibiotics, the death rate was about 15 to 30%. But now with effective treatment, it has declined to less than 1%. If treatment, proper diagnosis and treatment is given in time. So complication, perforation, hemorrhage, septicemic foci, bone and joint cholecystitis meningitis, I have already told. Because of release of toxin, there might be myocarditis, nephritis, and patient 1 to 5% patient might go into chronic carrier stage in which the patient carries bacteria in body, but the patient will have no symptom, and patient will excrete bacteria mostly in stool, but sometimes I have already mentioned incubation period. Then I have already mentioned the clinical features: fever, headache, first week fever, headache, mostly constipation, sometimes diarrhea. There might be cough, myalgia, arthralgia. In second week, rose spot, persistent fever. Fever is, of course, fever, headache, most important symptom. Then second week, again, continuous fever, headache, then diarrhea, abdominal distension. There might be hepatosplenomegaly and rose spot. And complication arise mostly at the end of second week, third week, or fourth week. And symptoms caused by Salmonella typhi are more severe than Salmonella paratyphi. And paratyphi, Salmonella paratyphi, milder form, and it can cause diarrhea, GI symptom, more common. So same things here. So same thing here. Okay, so anorexia, there might be anorexia, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, coated tongue. There might be coated tongue also. Tongue might be coated. Anorexia, abdominal tenderness, mostly in at the site of Pear's passage. So these are picture of rose spot. In diagnosis, most important diagnostic tool is positive blood culture. In the first week, it is very difficult to differentiate enteric fever from other causes of acute febrile illness. So differential diagnosis will be other causes of acute febrile illness like malaria, scrub typhus fever, malaria, scrub typhus fever, dengue fever, leptospirosis, urinary tract infection, pneumonia. So these will be differential diagnosis in first week, or other viral fever. So blood culture is most important diagnostic tool. That is gold standard, which is positive in 90% in first week and 50% in third week, blood culture. And later on, culture of stool, third and fourth week, culture of stool and urine for the Salmonella typhi and paratyphi might be positive. And bone marrow culture will be positive in most of the cases. It is more sensitive than blood culture, bone marrow culture, but that is not usually done, bone marrow culture. And culture of intestinal secretion can be also done for this Salmonella typhi and paratyphi. And there are bone marrow culture remains highly sensitive, 90%, despite of 5 days treatment of antibiotic therapy. 5 days of antibiotic therapy does not affect bone marrow culture. So that is advantage of bone marrow culture, but that is not usually done in our setup. And there are other tests also available which are not very useful, but like there are tests for detection of incision of these organisms, and there are also tests for detection of antibodies which are called Vidal test. Vidal test. But Vidal test is not very useful test because it has high rate of false positive and false negative. So it's not very useful. And in first week, there might be leukopenia and neutropenia. in 15 to 25% of cases. So that is also suggestive of enteric fever. But leukocytosis can occur in children, or if there is secondary infection with other bacterial infection, or if there is intestinal perforation. In most of the cases, the count will be, WBC count will be normal. So these are tests, and depending upon the suspected complication, you have to do other investigation. Like if you are suspecting perforation of small intestine, then you have to do plain X-ray of abdomen, including both diaphragm in erect position to see gas under right diaphragm. Similarly, if you are suspecting pneumonia, then you have to do chest X-ray. If you are suspecting acute pyelonephritis, then you have to do, urine culture, and so on. So differential diagnosis I have already described. So now treatment part, specific treatment with antibiotics, then symptomatic or supportive treatment, like symptomatic and supportive treatment. Like if the fever is there, you have to bring down fever with antibiotics like paracetamol. Supportive treatment, if the patient is dehydrated, you have to give IV fluids. You have to maintain nutrition, fluid and electrolytes. And if any complication arise, you have to do treatment of those complications. And treatment of chronic carriers. Carrier is said if the person is carrying bacteria and excreting bacteria for more than 1 year, then that is criteria for chronic carrier. So I have already told in pre-antibiotic era mortality rate was 15 to 30%. And the first antibiotic which was found effective in enteric fever was colomphenicol in 1948, which was discovered in 1948. And that with use of colomphenicol mortality rate decreases to 1%. And fever, even you prescribe colomphenicol, it usually takes 3 to 5 days fever to come down. Okay, so it may take at least 48 hours for control of fever. But later on, resistance developed against colomphenicol. Colomphenicol became ineffective. And since it also causes most important side effect is bone marrow toxicity, bone marrow suppression, which might be irreversible and may be fatal. So later on come other antibiotics like ampicillin, trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole, and then other antibiotics like quinolone group of antibiotics, ciprofloxacin. When the organism became resistant to colomphenicol, then came ciprofloxacin, which was initially quite effective drug. Ciprofloxacin or ofloxacin from same group. These drugs were quite effective. But again, resistance developed to these drugs also. So these organisms might be multi-drug resistant, or it may be resistant to quinolone group. In quinolone group, the drugs are ciprofloxacin, ofloxacin, and then nalidixic acid. So If empirical treatment is required, then you have to use ceftriaxone, cefotaxime, or cefixime. Ceftriaxone dose is 1 to 2 gram IV daily for 7 to 14 days, or cefotaxime 2 gram IV 8 hourly, or cefixime 400 milligram 12 hourly PO for 2 weeks. And azithromycin is also quite effective, 1 gram per day, orally for 5 days. If the organism are susceptible, then you can use ciprofloxacin 500 milligram BD for 5 to 7 days, or ofloxacin 400 milligram BD for 2 to 5 days. And amoxicillin, second line drug, or in pregnancy, amoxicillin, you have to give amoxicillin 1 gram IV 8 hourly, or 2 gram orally 6 hourly for 14 days. Like in pregnancy, you have to use amoxicillin. Then similarly, chloramphenicol and okay. So multi-drug, in case of multi-drug resistant, you can use ciprofloxacin, ceftriaxone, or azithromycin in multi-drug resistance. So culture and sensitivity is also important. Culture and sensitivity is also important. So multi-drug resistant, ciprofloxacin, ceftriaxone, or azithromycin. Or if the drugs are nalidixic resistance, then you have to use ceftriaxone, azithromycin, or high dose ciprofloxacin. Usual dose is 500 milligram BD, but high dose 750 milligram BD you have to use. Steroids, dexamethasone seems to be useful in case of severe cases, like if the patient is comatose. In some study, it has been found useful and it has decreased mortality, dexamethasone. And treatment of complication, of course, if there is hemorrhage or internal perforation, then you have to go for, along with antibiotics, you have to go for surgical intervention. Like if there is perforation, you have to do laparotomy and you have to close perforation. Okay, so in case of perforation or hemorrhage, antibiotics and this surgical intervention. Like in case of GI hemorrhage, bowel dissection might be required. In case of perforation, the closure of perforation, and along with broad spectrum antibiotics. Because if patient develop peritonitis, then you have to cover other organisms also. Prevention and control. So it is less common in developed countries because of improved personal hygiene, sanitation, and food hygiene. So improved hygiene, personal hygiene, food hygiene, and safe water supply. These are very important tools for prevention and control of this enteric fever. And other measures for prevention control are control of reservoir, early detection and treatment, follow-up to detect carrier and treatment. Treatment of chronic carrier usually treated with ciprofloxacin for 4 to 6 weeks. And if still not treated, if not effective, then you have need surgical intervention, surgical correction. Proper disposal of sewage and water treatment, health education, sanitation, safe drinking water, surveillance, and vaccine. And vaccine is available, both oral and injectable vaccines are available for prevention of this disease. So that's all I have to tell. So this is very important disease, common disease, quite of and common in developing country. It's one of the always possibility in case of fever of early stage of fever. So you have to think this diagnosis, and you have to differentiate from other causes of acute febrile illness. I have already told, like malaria, dengue, scrub typhus, urinary tract infection, pneumonia, and so on. Thank you. Circuit Patel. Huh? Two vaccines commercially available. One is, this is oral vaccine, attenuated Savannah typhi vaccine, oral. And then another is injection. No vaccine for paratyphoid fever. So vaccine for typhoid fever one. Thank you. You have any question? आज गएर पढ्नु है, आज गएर अनि याद हुन्छ ल।